They can't really turn a couple of men or a couple of women or three men and a billy goat, for that matter, into a marriage. That's just not what marriage is. No disrespect is intended to anyone. Some people don't want to get married. Okay, there's no obligation. But marriage has a meaning. Marriage is and always has been the union of a man and a woman ordered toward the procreation and education of children. If you don't like that, don't blame me. I didn't set the rules.
All right, folks, so if you're not familiar, CPAC is currently going on right now, and there is sort of this annual tradition on the left of taking every single CPAC speech wildly out of context to make it seem like, look at this crazy and insane, hateful meeting of bigoted Republicans. And what I've always found to be a little bit funny and ironic about that is when you really break it down, and I'll be honest, I'll say this as someone who has been to CPAC many times, it is honestly one of the most milquetoast and arguably boring conservative conferences out there. And I don't even say that to be a diss at CPAC. And honestly, there are plenty of great speakers at these events, but it's just to say they really try to overreact and make a big deal out of nothing. And when you consider, of course, that it is 2024, it is election year, you can fully expect they're going to try to tie every single one of these speakers in with Trump and say, this is what the Trump campaign believes, and look how bad and terrible it is. And it's kind of a circus every single time. With that said, Michael Knowles, who I am certainly a fan of, been on his show, great guy, did give a speech at CPAC that not only has your ordinary liberals on Twitter/X totally riled up. I mean, Harry Sisson tweeted about it, and that's not surprising, but even got around to the Biden campaign itself, and even Gavin Newsom himself tweeted about it, trying to say, this is what Donald Trump believes, and it is the craziest thing ever, which is, of course, Michael going out and saying that the true definition of marriage is a union between a man and a woman, okay? And again, they are freaking out about this. This has made it all the way to the Biden campaign. Take a look here. So Harry says, holy crap, a Trump advocate. Of course, Michael, who is, you know, friendly towards Trump, but didn't even endorse anyone in the Republican primary. But that's what they're trying to do. See the game here? See how when it's election year, they're going to try to lump in anything a conservative says as this is the Trump campaign. It's like, yeah, I like Michael. I agree with what he's saying here, but this is not Donald Trump speaking. This is not even a Trump surrogate speaking, you know. But anyways, just went on a homophobic rant at CPAC claiming that marriage is the union of a man and a woman. Wow. So you're saying the almost universal take that all civilizations believed until about the 21st century. Anyways, this is who the MAGA Republican Party is. They're openly advocating for discriminating against the LGBTQ plus community. Insane. All right, let's take a listen to what Michael has to say then and see how insane it is. Okay.
They can't really turn a couple of men or a couple of women, or three men and a billy goat, for that matter, into a marriage. That's just not what marriage is. No disrespect is intended to anyone. Some people don't want to get married. Okay, there's no obligation. But marriage has a meaning. Marriage is and always has been the union of a man and a woman ordered toward the procreation and education of children.
Wow, marriage has a meaning? I know. They're really mad about saying this, aren't they?
If you don't like that, don't blame me. I didn't set the rules. It wasn't the mean old conservatives who did this. We did not invent marriage. Marriage is a natural institution. It just is what it is. The left will slander us as hateful for observing this fact. They can't really turn.
So that's what he clipped. I think when you watch the longer speech, he's sort of talking about the full LGBT movement and how we got to this point. And I do agree that, hey, if you're going to have this discussion about how crazy it is now, this really all began when they tried to redefine marriage, right? Because it wasn't just, oh, we want to do what we want in the privacy of our own home. It's always been, reorganize society around that alphabet flag. And, you know, I know it's a controversial take even with some conservatives these days, but it genuinely did begin what you're seeing now, their effort to reorganize society. It all began when they tried to change the definition of marriage. And that is true. You know, you want to talk about now, they can't define what a woman is. They can't define what a man is. Well, where did that all begin? It began actually when they couldn't really define what marriage was. But still, regardless, you know, that's my personal, I guess, social and partially religious perspective. It is what it is. What I again think and find to be so funny about this is this guy's a commentator on the Daily Wire, okay? To my knowledge, he's never met Trump. He is friendly to Trump, right? But he doesn't really have anything to do. But you see what they're trying to do here, which is lump this in somehow with the Trump campaign platform, which is just not true, right? You know, Donald Trump, I seriously doubt, or honestly, you know, we know with the Obergefell, I mean, obviously, if the Supreme Court decides to change their minds about that, then that's a different discussion. But this has nothing to do with Donald Trump, right? This is a social conservative talking about his perspective. But according to not just Harry, but also the Biden-Harris campaign, check out what the Joe Biden War Room is saying about this. It says, top Trump advocate at CPAC echoes MAGA's Project 2025 plan to go after marriage equality during a second Trump term, saying, quote, marriage is a man and a woman. Right. So again, this is what they try to do every single CPAC, is take these things wildly out of proportion and act like, you know, again, this is the biggest deal in the world, what Michael Knowles is saying. But he did have somewhat of a witty response to this, saying, I'm just paraphrasing you, Mr. President. Quote, marriage is between a man and a woman, which is kind of ironic and funny, right? But check it out here.
The Defense of Marriage Act, we've all voted, not where I voted and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman. What's the game going on here?
Right. And again, like, agree or not with that perspective, because I know some people, like I said, I know even among the right, the marriage thing has become kind of controversial to say, but let's be realistic about this. If Joe Biden was saying this in, I believe, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, less than 20 years ago, then is it really a radical thing for conservatives to still have that perspective? Of course, it's not. But, you know, in the modern paradigm, it's seen as the craziest idea ever. I don't know. It is what it is. Again, just the point here is they're trying to make the biggest deal out of one CPAC speaker saying this when Joe Biden said this, and, you know, oh, this is Donald Trump speaking. No, it's not. I mean, honestly, it's just not. Let's be real about that. And maybe someone make the case, we wish Donald Trump would speak like that. I mean, you know, some would say that. I don't know. You know, you got to win the election at the same time. It's you got to play the game long term. I get all of that. But, you know, this is what they're trying to do. And it's not just with Michael Knowles, right? So we had Jack Posobiec was speaking at CPAC, and Republicans Against Trump tries to quote him here saying, quote, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here, because all glory is to God. Okay. So obviously, okay, I think you can read into what Jack is saying there. It's sort of a joke. Okay, it's sort of semi-ironic. He's saying, hey, this is what the left always says about this, so I'm going to bait them, right? I'm going to piss them off and just say, like, exactly what they always say we are. And let's be honest, we all do that sometimes. It's like, yes, I too am the end of democracy, right? It gets under their skin, but, you know, they're taking it seriously and posting it here as you see.
All right, welcome. I just wanted to say, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
That's right, because all glory is not to government, all glory to God.
Right. So again, if you actually listen to the way he's saying it, you know, he is making a genuine point, but he's also sort of underlaying it with a little bit of sarcasm, right? You start a speech by saying, hey, welcome to the end of democracy, you know, but like I said, every single CPAC, this is what they're going to try to do. And that is, of course, also especially true on election year. Okay, so this is what always seems to happen. Last, I guess, CPAC highlight I wanted to bring up was they had the president of El Salvador speak yesterday. And if you're not familiar with El Salvador's president, he's sort of this like right-wing strongman, quote unquote. And I don't say that in a bad way. He's a guy who, as you know, El Salvador, ravaged by MS-13, ravaged by the drug cartels. He got in there, basically threw them all in jail, got a hold of it. Now that country, I'm sure, still has problems, but is one of the safer countries now in that region because of it. And take a listen to what he had to say about this. Okay, so let's listen here to the president of El Salvador.
They don't have a democratic mandate. If they want a seat in the table, they should run for office. Let the people vote. It will not be a pretty sight for them if the elections are free and fair. I mean, who elected Soros to dictate public policy and laws? Why?
Great point. Great point, right? Oh, it's about democracy. No, it's not. Okay? It's like, honestly, I have my thoughts about the whole idea of quote unquote democracy. Like, even our founding fathers didn't believe in democracy. But let's also be really clear when we use those terms and those semantics. What does that really mean in the modern day? No, it means submit to this system that this corrupt class of oligarchs who do not even have the interests of Western civilization at mind, i.e. George Soros, they actually want to destroy it. You must submit to our illusion of choice where we actually have bought out and rigged the system. And if you don't, you're against democracy, right? And I guess that's arguably what makes them so mad about the president of El Salvador is recently, just a couple of months ago, he won re-election in a landslide. Because it turns out people don't want to accept decline. People don't want to accept violent countries ravaged by criminals, right? But, of course, what are they going to call this guy? What do they already call this guy? He's a dictator. A dictator that just won re-election by a huge margin because he did something about crime. And again, refused to accept the idea that we have to just sit down and lay down and take this as nations, as countries, as civilizations, right? And I think that's partially what angers them so much about this guy right here is he partially sends a message to America, to everyone around the world saying, hey, you look at how dangerous your cities are. And don't get me wrong, we're not as dangerous as El Salvador was. But, it's the same idea here. You don't actually have to accept that, right? You don't have to accept cities who are run by criminals. You don't have to accept third world crap in the first world. But when a guy gets up there and says it, it's a threat, right? It's a threat. So that's why they have to respond by labeling him all sorts of names. He's a dictator. No, guys, democracy, freedom, all these things. Okay. That's just the price you have to pay is, mass illegal immigration and criminals running the streets. No, it doesn't have to be like that. It actually can be better. Okay. But they don't want you to know that. So I think that's the example in some ways he sets here.
Why does he feel entitled to impose his agenda? Let me tell you something. Soros and his cronies hit a brick wall in El Salvador. Thank God, and all the glory be to him, Salvadorans are now immune to his influence. No one believes his lies anymore over there.
It's true, and you certainly love to see it. So anyways, there are just some of the highlights out of CPAC. Like I said, they love to make a big deal out of this event every single year. I didn't even go this year because I was like, whatever, it's not really, I've been there before. It's not really all that worth it to just keep going again and again. But, according to them, this sort of conservative conference of DC interns mostly and like old people Oh my gosh, guys, these are the Nazis right here. It's like, okay, whatever. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. If you are at CPAC yourself personally, how is it? You know, let me know about that. We will be live tomorrow night for the South Carolina primary results. We will be reacting to all of that live. So be sure to join us then. Not sure exactly what time, probably 7 p.m. Eastern time, somewhere around there. So be sure to join us. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, Alpha Moves only. God bless. Have a very good day, and peace.